And the impact of tensions flaring up in West Asia has sent gold prices skyrocketing. Here in India, gold hit an all-time high on June 15, breaching the 1 lakh rupees per 10-gram mark for 24-carat gold. On the MCX, or the multi-commodity exchange, domestic gold futures surged as much as 2% in early trade to touch 1,403 rupees per 10 grams. There are multiple factors, but the main one driving this rally in gold is the geopolitical unrest. Now, with Israel on high alert and the US preparing civilian evacuation plans, investors are flocking to gold as a safe haven investment amid fears of wider instability. Then there is the weakening rupee. The falling rupee has made imported gold costlier in India, directly impacting domestic prices. At the same time, weak US labor and inflation data have raised expectations of rate cuts by the US Fed, further driving up gold's appeal as a low-risk investment. Now, globally, gold prices have rallied, with spot prices crossing $3,428 an ounce and US futures rising even sharper than that. The surge reflects a global shift towards safe haven assets as geopolitical risks overshadow trade concerns. Now, coming to the support and resistance levels, analysts say international gold prices have strong support near the $3,400 mark and face resistance at $3,480 an ounce. Goldman Sachs, in the meantime, says gold could breach the $3,700 mark by the end of this year and as much as $4,000 by this time next year. In India, some experts believe gold could cross the 1,05,000 mark too. Well, we have Kunal Shah, head of Commodities Research at Nirmal Bang, joining me this morning. Kunal, good morning. First up, it was the Russia-Ukraine war, then it was Israel's campaign on Hamas starting 7th October 2023, followed by Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on practically every country in the world, and now Israel, Iran heading towards what looks like, at least for now, a full regional war. Now, every time gold has breached new records. Where does this rally this time logically reach?
Yeah, so we believe that some of the other factors keep driving gold prices, but it's just the geopolitical thing. If you look at what's happening on the demand side, the Indian demand has been faltering, and with the higher prices now, we are going to see a further drop in demand. Number one. Number two, due to this ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, there is a fear of a widespread crisis in the Middle East, which in last 3 days was not the case. So I believe that these are not the levels to buy gold. One should wait. And in fact, these are the right time to hedge your inventories. So all the jewelers who have been waiting for quite a bit of long time, and I think $3,500 seems to be quite toppish for gold to sustain and move up until there is a major retaliation or there is a major geopolitical event happening in the world. I am not advocating to buy gold at these levels. I'm expecting gold to soften a bit and prices to go down in a shorter term and near term. And these are not the levels to buy for sure.
All right, may not be the levels to buy, Kunal, but the commentary that we are seeing and also the action that we are seeing on ground is that retaliation, something you mentioned, is already underway. And Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, has come on record to say that this war could continue for as long as it takes to destabilize the dictatorship regime here in Iran. Now, the question really is, what happens if the latest escalation that we are seeing happens to be short-lived, let's say another few days or another couple of weeks at the most? Where does gold go if this retaliation or this conflict is short-lived?
I think if this retaliation and the conflict is short-lived, then gold prices will go down to $3,300.
Okay.
Yeah, it will translate to 95 to 94,000 rupees, and it will not sustain at all. One more interesting thing is that the crisis have escalated in Saturday and Sunday. So
That's
ever
right.
since the markets have closed, and you see today the way gold is open or the crude is open, we've seen Israel and Iran both attacking their refineries and the oil depots. And in spite of that, oil is still 1.5%, 2% up. And in spite of that, gold is also marginally up.
Right.
So it seems that some or the other international power like US, or for example in the Middle East, maybe Saudi Arabia, I don't know, but some or the other country will come into the diplomatic solution in this crisis, because I think it's already escalating. And Now even Israel is taking a lot of casualties, and that is not something, So even when both countries are adamant that they don't want to stop it, but I think that some or the other way diplomatic solutions may work going forward during this week. And I just get a feeling that maybe by the end of the week, the crisis would moderate rather than to escalate. So wait for some time before you enter into fresh long position in gold.
All right. Well, diplomatic solution, we don't really know because if you remember, Donald Trump had said that he will stop the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours of taking office. And it's been just about 4 months since Trump sat in the Oval Office for the second time. And that war continues to go on. But you were talking about oil prices as well. Is it fair to assume at this moment that gold and oil prices will be coupled, they will move in the same direction? Because like you mentioned, oil is also trading much higher. It was at about $73 to a barrel last when I checked.
Yeah, so oil until you see a major oil production from Iran dropping, because Iran is mainly exporting its oil to China, and if that is being hampered, then say 3.5 million barrels being produced by Iran, and if that facilities are hit, out of which 1.5 million, 1 million barrel is getting disrupted. In that kind of scenario, oil can shoot up to $80 for Brent. See, the thing with oil is everyone knows that the moment this crisis is going to end, oil is going to drop. So that's why we are not seeing any follow-up buying taking place, in spite of the fact that major oil refinery in and gas field in Iran has been impacted and has caught fire and is not operational right now. In spite of that, oil prices are not shooting up. So I get the same feeling. $80 for Brent seems to be the top for the short term. If it escalates, I don't know, then it can really, if Iran's production is affected by 1.5 million barrel, then I think oil prices can really shoot up very badly.
All right. Well, sometime back, Kunal, you were mentioning that if it is a short-term scenario, then perhaps we'll look at 3,300 levels on gold, $3,300 per ounce. But what if I were to turn that around on its head and say that perhaps this becomes a lasting regional war? It expands beyond just Israel and Iran. Then what happens to gold? Where does gold go in a scenario if this becomes a long-term
Yeah,
war?
so it's then in that scenario, if this spreads to another country, or if another countries may get involved, say if US is getting involved and Iran along with the other allies, so Iran strong allies, China. So in that kind of scenario where it spreads to another country, then definitely it will lead to a sharp upside in gold, 36, $3,700, 1,07,000, 8,000 on Indian rupees possible.
Oh,
But
one
I'm
lakh
not.
seven, eight
I'm,
thousand rupees on
yeah,
India is possible.
yeah,
That's a big
yeah. But
number.
I'm
In fact,
not. I'm not still anticipating that kind of scenario.
all right, you're not anticipating, but of course, we were just playing out those graphics also. And for our viewers, gold has already returned as much as 31% to investors in this calendar year alone. And up until June 15th, the rally that we saw in gold was as much as 10,000 rupees in just 74 days. That's the kind of rally which seems to be, at least in recent memory, a little unprecedented. But Kunal, coming back to you, what should investors do who are looking at their equity holdings dropping because all the flare-up in West Asia and the direct impact on the stock markets? But what about those who are seeing their equity holdings go down but have not made perhaps timely investments in gold? You're telling them not to buy gold even now. So what should those investors do?
I think I'm not saying it now. If you are buying now, be prepared to average it out. I'm not saying that completely avoid it. So somebody is not having exposure. Having exposure in this kind of uncertain world in gold is must. So if you are buying now, the wait. If prices go more firepower to add more, because already we've seen in a short term gold prices shot up from 93,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. So that's the key reason, and that is because of geopolitical escalation. So if that reverses, then it can go down, and perhaps for that same reason you should have a room to add more gold.
All right, you should have room to add more gold, but you said perhaps not the best time to buy. Is this an opportune time perhaps to sell in that case, given your understanding right now, Kunal, that this may not be a regional
I
conflict?
am I am I am I am of the very clear view. This is not the time to buy, because see, to go long in gold is already discounted. Okay,
Right.
so there's no surprise element right now. We all know that U.S. interest rate may edge lower in times to come. Each and everything, central bank buying, de-dollarization, all the reasons, like you said at the start of your show,
Yeah.
all the reasons being discounted in the price itself. So if
Right.
you ask me, there are no more reasons for me to accumulate gold right now.
Right. So my question is again, I'm reversing that theory and saying that perhaps it's not the
Yeah,
best time to
it's
buy.
perhaps a good
Is it
time,
a time
yes.
to sell? Because market experts tell you buy on dips, and equity markets are seeing a sizable dip right now. Does it make sense, in your opinion, for investors to who had invested in gold previously to cash out at this moment and buy the dip in the equity market?
Equity market, I will not comment, but
Sure.
I would say if you sell gold right now, perhaps you may get it at a lower rate. At that time, you can re-enter, and this is definitely a good time to book profits.
All right, a good time to book profits. Well, let's leave it at that. Kunal Shah, always a pleasure having you here with us on News9. Thank you so much for all your inputs.